Hello everyone, my name is Shani Jones and this is KNKY, which stands for Know the New Kinky You. I am your resident certified sex coach and this is the closeout to a 3-part series that we did regarding non-monogamous sexual relationships. So, in the first video, we really just talked about what that meant to be in a non-monogamous sexual relationship and how you need to openly and honestly communicate about expectations, from frequency of sex, sexual partnerships, outside of yourselves, how you're going to just maneuver and how you check in with each other throughout the relationship to make sure that everybody's on the same page. In our second video, we talked about new sex and, how new sex can be very, very exciting, but it can also put a lot of pressure because you are asking yourself, when and how long do I wait? If I didn't wait, what are the repercussions to that? What do I know about this person? What do they know about me? If something were to go wrong, how do I deal with it? So, and what if the sex is bad? So we talked about all of that in the second video. Today, we're talking about a continuation of non-monogamous sexual relationships, under a new sex type of realm. And it's how far should you go? And I have a running joke with my friends that says, are balls included? And I'll let you know what that means. So, sexual dynamics and sexual progression it takes time. It takes time to build those relationships and understand how each other's body works and what it is that, what we respond to. So that first time you have sex with somebody, it may be good. It may be one of those hot and heavy. You have a lot of chemistry. You have a lot of compatibility. We talked earlier about every lock don't fit a key, but this lock might open your door the first time. You go in and you have those moments. Then you have those other moments where it may not be so good, right? And if it's not good, you have to ask yourself, sometimes, premature ejaculation is a common thing amongst people who are having sex for the first time. The guy gets super, super excited and, next thing you know, he's come. Not necessarily a testament to his prowess, but not necessarily the best show for the first time around. There's a term whiskey dick, right? Where let's say you've been drinking and he can't get an erection to even come prematurely. That can happen and make the sexual experience bad. She could be dry. She could be giving you head and you don't like it. And then going back to the original question, are balls included? When you're having sex with somebody, especially for the first time or very early in your sexual encounters, what is the expectation? Is oral sex expected? And if you're giving head to a guy, are you supposed to suck his balls the first time that you have sex with him? What is supposed to be included? How far do you go when you first have sex with somebody? Sometimes we talk about balls to the wall. This is my first time. I got to show out. I got to show up, or she might not come back, or he might not come back. But then you really got to think about how many stops of all the stops do you want to pull out of your bag of tricks. So we talked about sexual chemistry versus compatibility. Like, some people have a very high sexual chemistry where the attraction is just so strong that they have a difficult time, staying away from each other. But then again, we have this compatibility, right? With the compatibility, we may not always know what to do. So, when you're learning somebody sexually, if you take the time to know which parts of their body to being touched this way, whether they like it hard or soft, or whether they like to be bit or choked, or whether they like to be spanked, or whether, how important is foreplay to creating their sexual arousal to the point where you can ask the question, like, okay, if you give me head, is oral sex, male or female, is eating, I'm not going to do it that way, is performing analingus important? Especially if one of the partners actually enjoys it. Will the other partner just give? And again, is it the first time just because you've given head? Like, you have to go through these lines of progression when you're talking about sex. And the only way to do that is through communication. When you communicate with somebody, just talking about sex as part of a conversation with someone that you're being sexually active with is going to be healthy for your relationship, because one, it helps you discover things that they like, things that they don't like, things that turn them on. Do you like, I don't know, the lights on? Do you like the lights on? Do you like having sex in front of a mirror? What kind of communication can you have that says, okay, where am I going? And with communication, you have to have trust and comfort. Do I trust this person? Am I comfortable with them? Can I share with them? Do I feel safe with them? First of all, if you don't trust this person and you're not comfortable and you don't feel safe, you shouldn't be having sex with them. So first and foremost, you shouldn't be doing that. So assuming that all of those things are in place, now, certain people will do certain things as they get more comfortable, which most of us are. So, whereas let's say a woman who is shy about her body, she might initially only want to have sex in the bedroom with the lights off, under the cover, doggy style. And that might just be it for her. However, the longer that she's with someone, the longer that she's more comfortable with them, the more she's more comfortable with herself, then, she might be doing a striptease under a strobe light, with mirrors all around her. She may be that. It all depends on her level of comfort. And it also depends on how that relationship progresses, because she would have needed to move from that initial example to what we're talking about. She would have needed to feel so sexually empowered that could have even been possible for her. So you have to just understand that progression took time, and it took hard work, and it took someone putting in effort to make sure that one person goes from a state of just getting to know him, I like him, I like her, I'm not going to whip out all my tricks, I ain't going to give them too much. Another example, like, there are certain people, let's say you like anal sex, right? You like anal sex and you enjoy it, but it's not something that you're going to do the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, fifth time, whatever time, with somebody that you're just starting to have sex with. Perhaps it takes a level of trust and a level of communication to be able to say, oh, you know what? I do like anal sex. You like anal sex? I like anal sex. Maybe we'll try it. And if we do try it, we need to use this type of lube, or we need to do we need this toy. We need to warm up this way. Have the conversations. These are conversations that people have. And if you're not having it and you need to be, then you need to start having that conversation. Start your year off right and start putting yourself in a position to have these very, very important conversations. When you're talking about sex, talk about your sexual response cycle. We've talked about it before. The state of arousal, and then your body responds, and then you actually engage in sex, and you're in that moment where you're having sexual encounter, and then hopefully you orgasm, and that energy and that physical fluid is released, and then you go into this refractory state where you're just like spit and waiting to do it again. Now you have to understand where you are in that cycle and making sure that you're paying attention to it. Because if, for instance, people like getting their nipples sucked or their neck sucked, or talked about giving head and stuff like that, if you know that that is a sensitive part of your body and you respond well to it, but you have a partner that doesn't show any part of your body that attention, or doesn't show that part of your body that attention, then your sexual response cycle is not going to flow in the way that you would want it to. It wouldn't be peak, because you know that nipple stimulation is something that is highly arousing for you. And if you don't get that, then you're not going to reach that level of arousal that you would had you opened your mouth. So just keep these things in mind as we're talking about it. Like fantasy, like how do you start getting into a conversation about fantasy? How far do you go with somebody? Once you're going from new to, maybe you'll scare them if you come out with whips and chains the first night. You might not want to do that. You might want to just, have some casual sex and then ask the question, what do you feel about whips and chains? Like, how do you feel about that? So, I don't know. You got to work your way up to it. Perhaps there are some shared sexual fetishes. Again, the only way you find out is through conversation. Bring it up. Don't be afraid to bring it up. Now, I know a lot of times when we're talking about fetishes, some people are scared depending on what their fetish actually is, because some fetishes aren't really shared, openly, and some fetishes aren't shared by a lot of different people. But if you have a good, solid relationship where there is that trust and there is that communication and then there's the comfort and you have that communication, then honestly, as you grow together, you should be able to have those conversations and they hopefully will be received well. Again, if this is the first night, I wouldn't suggest you go. If you like to dress up in latex and, rub yourself down in baby oil, if that's your thing, it could be your thing. But again, don't give it to them on the first night. You have to understand where your limits are from that first night. You're having sex. You maybe give them some head, maybe a massage. What does that look like? You have to understand where it goes, what it looks like, and how far you're going to go. And orgasms, right? When you're talking about orgasms, one, you should probably know how to achieve one for yourself, by yourself. So that way you are in a position to guide the next person if they aren't getting it themselves. You're able to orchestrate the finale, so to speak. So just make sure you're talking about going through the motions, having a general connection about your body and where you are again in your sexual response cycle in order to facilitate the orgasm that you both want to achieve. All right. Lastly, we're going to talk about language. Now, again, how far will you go? We're talking about languages. No means no, right? Most of the time. No means no. If you're ever in a situation where you were planning to have a sexual encounter and something doesn't feel right or something goes wrong, everyone has the authority to say no. They have the authority to say no. There is no justification for a violation of someone changing their mind about having sex. There is none. So if you hear the word no, stop. Let it go. Now there is a condition to that. There are certain things where you're talking about fantasy or role play or even BDSM where you have certain safe words. You have to understand the language that you're speaking. I always use this example. If someone says no, stop. Or no, don't stop. So you hear it's like no, don't stop. Those three words broken out, can say stop it, I'm done. Or if you say here no, don't stop. That type of, sorry for the sound effects, but you get my point. No, don't stop can be different terms. So making sure that you are either following the safe words or understanding the context of how the words are being used. Language is very, very important when you're especially starting this sexual progression and learning which way people go, how far to go. So I would like to thank you for joining me again. My name is Shani Jones. Don't forget to share, like, and comment on the video. You can support me across all social media at DOYOUKNKY. Again, thank you for all of those who are already subscribed and are following. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again on the next one.